and welcome to Credit Makes Sense with Netiva, the Frugal CrediTnista. I am a certified credit counselor, personal finance coach, and owner of MNHCreditSolutions.com, where credit transformations happen. We teach our clients to destroy their debts, grow their money, and soar their credit scores. So today I want to talk about paying collections. A lot of counselors, credit professionals will tell you to never pay a collection. However, there are some instances where you actually want to pay. And we're also going to talk about pay for deletion methods and some tips in order to ensure success. Pay for deletion actually works pretty well with collection accounts. So what are my three reasons in which you may want to pay a collection? Number one is when your lender tells you to. I've been a realtor for 13 years. I've had several clients where a lender will tell you, yes, you are pre-approved contingent upon you doing X, Y, and Z. And a lot of that times it involves making payment arrangements with actually paid it to zero, a collection account. They don't care if you settle it. They don't care if you pay it in full. They just want it paid. And when you are faced with a collection account that somebody tells you, oh, never pay it, and the lender that holds the keys to you obtaining a home, of course, you're going to choose the home. So that's like the number one reason when you would pay a collection. Number two is when you want a deletion. As I mentioned, pay for deletes are pretty successful with collection companies, more so than other, like an original creditors or lender or something to that effect. So they're more successful with collections than anything. So if you are going to get a deletion in exchange for payment, pay it. Number three, I get a lot of clients who are just going through an aggressive debt payoff plan. They don't want to go through a whole bunch of back and forth disputing. They just want the debt gone so they never have to worry about this creditor trying to come after them and sue them for the debt. So those are my top three reasons. Of course, there will be other reasons as well, but those are the top three that I encounter as a credit counselor and that are viable reasons for actually paying a collection account. Now, there are a lot of myths about what happens when you make a payment, but I have two things that I would stress that you do, and I actually do for my clients prior to breaking with your coin to pay a collection. And number one is to check your statute of limitations. Remember, that's the time frame that they have in order to sue you for a debt. Each state is going to be different. The requirements are going to be different. But ultimately, if your statute of limitations has passed, as I mentioned, it's easier for you to get it off your credit report at that time frame because they can't sue you. The only thing they can do is report it on your credit report. And in some cases, actually in most cases, once the statute of limitations, that time period has passed, the debt is pretty old and FICO isn't paying that much attention to it anyway. So that's the first thing you'll check, your statute of limitations. Number two, you want to validate the debt. If you looked at my past YouTube videos, then you've seen that validating the debt is asking that they have proof of the debt and that they have the documentation that shows that both you owe it, that you are liable to paying them, and that they are the party that you are supposed to be paying. So watch that previous video if you want more information on validation. Some other sources that you can look up validation information at is nolo.com. That's like one of my fave. And myfico.com actually has some pretty good information on validation. So what happens reporting wise once you have actually made a payment? So many people, supposed experts will tell you that the reporting time, the whole 7 years, will start all over again. No. That is not what happens. A collection is merely an extension of the original creditor's debt. So that means that once you become late with the original creditor and they charge it off, they sell it to a collection company, it's not going to restart just because it's a collection. This is based on a law between like 97 and 99. I have to look it up again. But it's based on that particular revision that was done to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So all of our debts, with the exception of unpaid tax liens, when we pay a tax lien, it's deleted in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. It's deleted 7 years from the first date of delinquency. That's the first date that you missed a payment and you never brought the account current again. Everything. So that means that even when it becomes a collection, a foreclosure, a repo, a charge off, it's still going to be deleted based on the first date that we missed a payment and we never brought the account current again. So it will not elongate the amount of time or the 7-year time period that is going to remain on our credit reports. Now, what it is going to do is going to update your reporting date and it's going to update the date of last activity. A lot of people think that the date of last activity is the date that we should go by when counting the 7 years, but that date of last activity fluctuates based on the last activity. If you've noticed, if you made a dispute, the date of last activity will update on the account. So that's why I like to go and look in the actual payment history where it lists the 30 or okay, 30, 60, 90, 120, 180, what have you. I like to go in there and see when the date of first delinquency was. If that doesn't show up, or for example, I know TransUnion listed, but if it doesn't show up, the bureaus are mandated to have that information. So you can always call or write a letter requesting that information simultaneously. Let's say if it's like a utility company or a company that doesn't report, but the collection is reporting. And we can't go by the collections date. So you want to write the original creditor or call the original creditor and see what that date is. I actually do all three in those instances. I want to see if the bureau's dates, the original creditor's dates, and the collection agency's date all match. And if it doesn't, I'm going for a deletion. So that's one tip on that. So it will not restart the amount of time that it is on your credit report. Now, when it updates the reporting date and the date of last activity, it will look newer in FICO's eyes and you will see a drop. However, FICO scores collections based on the dates of assignment, basically how old it is. So the date of assignment, that's when it's going to, score your credit score on. I guess that's a good way to say it. If that doesn't make sense, let me know. But it focuses on the date of assignment of their collection, and that's when it recognizes. So when the reporting date and the date of last activity is updated, that kind of causes a little trigger within FICO to view it as newer, like a newer collection. It does do that. So you'll see a drop initially, but usually within like 60 days, you'll see it increase a little bit more. But you will see a little bit of a dip in your credit scores. And for that reason, that's why we as credit professionals like to go for the deletion. Deletion makes it seem as if that collection never happened. It was never on your credit report, never in your credit history. And that's why we stress go for the pay for deletion if you're going to make a payment. Now, are collection agencies like jumping for joy to give you a deletion for payment? Absolutely not. No, they're not. The initial answer, except for with maybe medical collections, the initial answer is always no. We don't do that. So I wrote down like the top 5 reasons. Let me go to this. When you will hear no. So number 1, they're going to tell you that their company doesn't do this, but their company policy has nothing to do with you, especially if they want that money. This is the number 1 reason why I tell my clients, if you go in asking for a pay for deletion, don't try to do it when you're making installment payments. Do it when you have a lump sum of money and you're ready to give it to them now, even if you're settling. So the lump sum works like the best, more so than payments. It's like you didn't even keep your payment arrangements with your original creditor, which is how I got this account. And now you want me to trust that you're going to make it and then delete it off your credit report? Where is the incentive on that? There isn't any. So have that lump sum payment. Number 2, credit bureaus don't do this. Or they'll say the credit repositories and try to confuse you. The credit bureaus, I'll be honest with you, if it's inaccurate, then yes, by federal law, they do have to delete it. So if it's inaccurate and you find the inaccuracy, then you can say, well, if it's inaccurate, of course you can delete it. That's federal law. But let's say it's reporting totally correct. Everything is like on point, correct, legit. Then yeah, they did sign an agreement with the credit bureaus. There is a policy with the credit bureaus that says that they will not do accept payment for deletion because it compromises the integrity of the, honesty of the credit report of the individual. But according to law, that's another thing they'll say is illegal. Legally, all credit reporting, with the exception of child supporting agencies, is totally voluntary. Like, they voluntarily submit this information to our credit report. Nobody forces them to legally do it. So how's it illegal to take something off? And another thing that I will always advise on is to try to get any arrangements that you make with them in writing, especially if you're settling. Because sometimes, I notice in some states, they do grant the collection agency permission to take the amount that wasn't recovered and resell it, or to still try to collect on it at a later time frame. So make sure that language that's why you want it in writing. You want to make sure the language is correct and that it is like settled in full, meaning that they cannot come back and try to collect on it. And all the terms are really written out. So it's really important to get something in writing. Now, will a collector always say that they're going to put the deletion and all that stuff in writing? No, especially when we know it goes against their policy. And I'll tell you one reason why they will not put it in writing. Number 1, they will say that, it's against their policy to put it in writing, but trust us, we'll do it. You're not trusting nothing. You're not trusting anything. They don't want you to submit it to the credit bureaus because it shows that they made an arrangement and they can lose their privileges to report anything to the credit bureaus. And for a collection company, that's big. That's like the number one method that they use other than harassing you on the phone to get payment. So they definitely don't want to do that. And number two, you can also sue under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act because they made an arrangement with you in exchange for payment and didn't follow through. So if they fail to delete, you can actually file suit against them. So those are the main reasons why they don't want it in writing. But those are the main reasons why you do want it in writing. One tip is I've taken a recording as proof that they would delete it. Now, of course, you have to let them know that you're recording, which is totally fine. I left tips on that, how I do that in my previous videos. But I totally record them saying that they will delete it in exchange for payment, what the payment arrangements were. They have no problem with putting the settlement or payment in full or payment paid as agreed information in writing, but the actual deletion they don't want to put in writing. So I have no problem recording them saying that they were going to delete in exchange for my payment, and I actually save that and email it to myself. There's several apps, so you can go into your Google Play Store, or I don't know what it's called on an iPhone. I don't have an iPhone, but you can go into your Google Play Store, whatever it is you have on an iPhone, download an app, let them know ahead of time, check your recording laws of your state, that you're recording the conversation, and record them saying they're going to delete it. And I've used it as proof several times. Let it not come off in 30, 35 days. Yes, I'm going to threaten you that I'm going to press charges. Now, another thing, since I mentioned settled, a lot of people will tell you, this actually came up in a Facebook group. Oh, you're not supposed to settle a collection because, settled account look bad. A collection is a collection is a collection. Paid, unpaid, it's a collection. Okay, so whether you settle it, pay it in full, it's still a collection. So settle your little heart out. I got over 100 six-figure debt because I settled my little heart out. Okay, I settled for a deletion. I settled to settle. I settled. Okay, a collection is a collection is a collection. So again, whether it's paid, unpaid, settled, paid in full, it's still a collection. So you might as well save you some coins and go ahead and settle away that collection if you're going to do it in exchange for deletion. Now, another thing that I wanted to point out is a lot of people say that an unpaid collection and a paid collection are synonymous and it doesn't really matter. That's partially true. A collection is a collection. A negative, always a negative. However, within our payment history, that 35% of our FICO scores, there is a very small incentive that you get for having a negative account be zero. So there is a small incentive. So in actuality, yes, you can never get over the negative of having that collection, but by bringing it to zero, it is scored better. But nothing beats getting it completely wiped out, which is why we go for the pay for deletion initially if you have decided to pay it or if your lender mandates that you pay it. So ultimately, what you want to do after you've made the decision to pay it and they've agreed to delete it, you want to monitor your reports, but you want to do that anyway. Speaking about the whole collection industry as a whole, you want to make sure that date of first delinquency doesn't get updated. You want to make sure that if they agree to delete it, that they actually follow through with it. And if you actually do not or are not successful with getting the account deleted, it's actually much easier to get a paid account deleted than an unpaid collection account deleted. Why? They got their money. They're not trying to come back and you say, oh, well, such and such is wrong on the account. They're not, oh, yes, it is. And she paid. No, they got their money. They're done. So even if they don't agree for the pay for deletion, yes, it's paid, but you can still go in with the bureaus, dispute it, because the chances of them, I mean, it's like super slim. I've actually, maybe 95% of the time it gets deleted, maybe with like 1 or 2 rounds of dispute, because they're not trying to go back and forth, trying to verify information when the account has been closed. They've gotten their money. They're like, I mean, it's done with. So that's another tip. If you decide to pay, they say, no, we're not going to do a pay for deletion. So you go ahead, you set an account, boom, go ahead and dispute it like right away so it can get gone. They got their money, you got your deletion. So hopefully this information was helpful. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment box. I actually do a lot of my content based off of your questions, emails on Facebook. I do Periscope Live every Wednesday at 6:30 Central Standard Time, so definitely join me there for different money and credit topics. And on Fridays at noon Central, I do Q&A Fridays. Please subscribe. I would love to have you guys to subscribe and give me positive feedback on what you'd like to learn more of. I have some awesome things coming on my site. I left all the links on there. And let me see if I have my book here. I do. And my book is available on Amazon. Stop Hiding 10 Proven Strategies for Facing Debt Collectors Head On. So if you've looked at all of my videos, this one including the previous ones, all of that information is in there. So you guys enjoy your day. Hopefully this information was valuable to you. All right, bye-bye.